Hey, it's Sharon, and I'm back to share another video with you. I'm going to share another experience while policing. If you're new to the channel, I was a police officer for 20 years, and I was also in the military. 95 Bravo was my primary, 96 Bravo was my secondary MOS. I want to share some experiences in hopes of hopefully helping somebody else. Again, these are my experiences, and I'm going to share opinions and thoughts, of course, of what I actually went through in policing that helped me identify or helped me realize my identity in Christ. And with that being said, if you remember in the other two videos, I've been talking about perspective and being watched and being a watcher. And in uniform, I would always watch folks, and I knew I was being watched. And I remember in the academy, a couple of things that they taught us about perspective and perception and people watching you. And something that stood out to me, they kept saying, you're a police officer 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And I took that seriously. But then when they started talking about perception and being objective when you're handling situations, I said, can I honestly do that? I really asked myself the question. I sat back and I actually thought about it. Could I not allow my experiences and my opinions affect situations that I was handling as a police officer? And guess what? I'll just give you the example. As I was thinking about it, I remember a story, well, not a story, but it actually happened. I had just been given a beat, and I had been given certain days off. They said it came with the beat car, Friday and Saturday. Actually, I had the beat car, but I had Tuesday, Wednesday off. And then I asked for Friday, Saturday, but that's a whole nother story. I had the beat car, I had Friday and Saturday off. And the sergeant comes up to me and he's like, Walters, today, where are the tickets? Where are the arrests? And I said, Sarge, I didn't write any tickets. I didn't make any arrests. And he was like, you gotta show some productivity. You gotta earn that paycheck. And I said, well, how do you measure the fact that I was there and crime was abated? And he was like, don't be a smart behind. He used another word. And he said, you gotta earn the paycheck. You gotta bring something in. And so that made me think again, like, okay, honestly, I wanted to know, how do you measure that? My presence probably abated, stopped a lot of stuff. How do you measure that? That's another video. So I said, okay, I got to go out here and produce. Some people might call it a quota, but I have to produce, because he said earn the paycheck. And at that time, I was like, yeah, I want to earn my paycheck. So I had a beat, I had a certain area. And now I started going out, and I'm like, okay, I saw cars parked facing the wrong way, they get a ticket. I saw, if I'm coming to the beat and somebody didn't signal while they were turning, you're getting a ticket. And then I started to produce. But then I had to sit back, and what got me was when they said you're a police officer 24/7. In uniform, did it match out of uniform behavior? And I honestly had to say no, it didn't. Why? Because I was parking facing the wrong way. I didn't get a ticket, and I'm not going to give myself a ticket. And there were times when I didn't signal while changing lanes, but I'm giving people tickets for that. And that was a problem for me. And remember, in the academy, you're a police officer 24/7, and there's some truth to that, because in the media, you see it all the time. It won't be Sharon Walters did XYZ. It'll be former or retired police officer Walters did such and such. You see it all the time in the media, right? So then I said, okay, my behavior in uniform has to match my behavior out of uniform. Or is it my behavior out of uniform has to match my behavior in uniform? What I realized was my job is an assignment. Because of my faith, it's an assignment. And I also have to realize that the way I behave outside of the uniform has to match when I put on the uniform, not the other way around. As an officer, I remember standing around with other officers, and we'd see some officers, and I'm going to make a video about that, about officers. We're just not officers, because outside of the uniform, business people, pastors, they're doing some great things. And I remember us standing around as officers in uniform, and we saw another officer, and somebody made the comment, you know that they're a pastor, right? And a lot of people standing around was like, I can't tell. Not by the way they be doing stuff and talking to folks like that. And that made me think, I'm kind of doing the same thing. Because if they're saying that in uniform, he does not act like a pastor, but out of uniform, he's a pastor, and they were saying it in a negative way, like, because she said the way he talked to people, the way he acts, he's not a pastor. And I guess in their mind, pastors are loving, they care for their flock, they're teachers, and they speak to people kindly and gently and in love. And they were saying he wasn't doing that in uniform. And I said to myself, wow, even though on that level I wasn't doing that, but the fact that I was parking the wrong way, not signaling, but I'm giving people tickets. And so what I want you to take away from this is, outside of the uniform is who I truly am. Because when I put on the uniform, I'm a police officer, I'm acting in a job, I'm in a position, I hold a position. I've been told a lot of times, you don't look like the police. I don't know what that looks like, okay, but okay. And a lot of people didn't know I was a police officer until they saw me in uniform, or I would mention it. So outside of the uniform has to match. Well, when you put on the uniform, it has to match what you're doing outside of the uniform. And for me, I had to put those two together. And how could it work? Because again, remember, the sergeant was telling me, Walters, you need to produce. So what I did was, of course, those things are still wrong, mind you. Parking, facing the wrong way, not signaling, those are laws. You have to abide by them. We all do. It's a privilege to drive. It's not a right. People mess that up all the time. So what did I start doing? I started parking the right way. I started signaling while I'm changing lanes, because I represented something in that uniform. And outside of the uniform, I also represent something, which is a believer in Christ. And if I don't do that, people are going to say, oh, no, I doubt if she believes in anything but herself. They could easily say that. I don't think they're saying it. I hope they're not saying it. But that's the lesson. In uniform, you behave one way as an officer. And if you're behaving another way outside of uniform, you really need to do the introspection. I did get to keep the beat. I did get to keep the days off. But I found the way to make the uniform reflect more of who I was. And yes, people still got tickets for parking it the wrong way, but I was doing it myself out of uniform. Because again, you're being watched and you're watching. And that's all I wanted to share. Hopefully that can help someone. Always remember, you don't necessarily have to go through a thing to learn from it. Hit subscribe and click the notification bell to get a message when we upload videos, okay? Talk to you later. Bye-bye.